I just want to be a little more clear about what I'm thinking long term. You'll see people talk about demographics, Hispanics this and white working class that, but they don't talk about culture and how shifts in demographics can be broken by cultural assimilation. It's less that I want to erase the prevailing story and rewrite it, and more that I want to integrate this different aspect to it. So why are Arizona and Nevada trending bluer, right? Maybe, is it because they're Hispanic? Or you're seeing more Hispanic people there? Maybe. Or is it because the white liberal culture in California is moving west? There's a cultural expansion there? I would suggest that the question is an error, that the answer is both. The point I'm getting across is that you shouldn't just be thinking about immigration. These states are becoming more like California in a cultural sense as much as they are becoming more Hispanic. And in a sense, it's kind of, you can't really separate these ideas, right? And that should be expected because Californian culture has been very successful. If you live in Nevada or you live in Arizona, are you going to look at the Midwestern states and say that's what I want to be more like? Are you going to look at Texas and say no, you're going to look at California? That's the culture that you're going to aspire to because they're successful. And likewise, what you're seeing in Virginia and North Carolina isn't just about migration southwards or about black voter turnout. The culture is changing. The northeastern culture is spreading south. If you live in Virginia or you live in North Carolina, and you see, I think the internet probably has a lot to do with it, but you see how successful these people here are, and then you see how unsuccessful these people over here are, who are you going to want to be more like? You're going to want to be more like the successful people. And the culture is going to change to reflect that. Unfortunately, the opposite is happening in Ohio and Iowa, which are deindustrializing, which are re-ruralizing, and they're being swallowed by the rural Midwest. As the economy is changing, the culture is changing. Okay, and it's not just Western Pennsylvania, it's Western New York too, right? It's a deindustrialization all the way up through there. But it's not any more likely to swing Pennsylvania anytime soon. You could look at New York and say that the same thing is happening there. Nobody thinks New York's going to swing. And really, the numbers may be a little bit closer in Pennsylvania, but fundamentally, Pennsylvania is not going to swing anytime soon, okay? Ohio and Iowa, on the other hand, are probably lost to the Democrats for the near future because they're deindustrializing. They're becoming rural Midwestern states. Iowa probably always was. Ohio is now. Okay? I think the Midwest, though, is chaotic, and that it's an error to assign it a single trend. Those two states may be falling down. I think maybe some of the other, the racism. I'm not suggesting that Missouri or Kentucky are becoming less racist. I'm just pointing out that because there's no longer a black guy there, racism is going to be less of a factor. Okay? I still think Kentucky and Missouri are going to be closer than any polling or modeling is projecting because they're doing it all wrong, but I'm suggesting that Ohio and Iowa are red for the near future. Isn't that a contradiction? It's only a contradiction if the trend is monolithic. Rather, what I'm suggesting is that you're going to see I think that these are the swing states of the future. Kansas, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee. This is where you're going to see the swing states come up as the coasts become more solidly blue. Those are the new swing states, if they matter. If the coasts stay blue, you're going to end up with a Democrat in the White House for the next 100 years, right? But those are the states that are going to matter if they matter. They might not matter. I think you see what I'm saying. I think what's going to happen, it's going to take a while to settle down. We're going to need at least one post-Obama cycle before we can really measure what has changed here. But don't be surprised if it's a lot less profound in the long run than anybody thinks. I'm sorry, but I don't think that the white racist vote in these regions, I don't think that it's a permanent cultural shift. A shift. Those areas were always racist, right? And I just think that when you take the black man out of the office, then their focus of hate will shift. That said, I don't really know the local politics of the region well enough to be able to say anything about this. But if there's a city in Missouri with a black mayor, or a city in Kentucky with a black mayor, then what's going to end up happening is the focus of hate is going to shift from the president to the local politicians. And it's going to be expressed there, right? But if the Democrats run white politicians at the highest levels, for the near future, I think that you're gonna see that racial component of the political, uh, decision-making process in those regions fall down, and it's going to be really um, unpredictable how exactly it is that that settles, right? But that's you've got to balance out the deindustrialization with the expansion of of the liberal class, uh, the liberal business class, and all these kinds of things, right? And it's not. I just think it's wrong to suggest that these areas are becoming solidly Republican, that it's moving in one direction. There's like that's a trend that's happening, but there's counter trends happening as well, and it's not clear to me how that's going to actually work out. I think these trends are more monolithic, right? That's moving that way. That's moving that way. That's more monolithic. This is more chaotic, right? Just wanted to clarify that point.